7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it, that was in midair going across the road in front of me.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards it, and then leaps over a guardrail. And the whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right outside of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
There are thousands of perfect people whose word would be good on any other subject who describe getting a good look at an enormous hair-covered upright animal. That is a fact.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, April 12th, 2020. I am your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls, along with my co-host down there underneath me, Mr. Chris Bennett. And Chris, and to everybody out there, I want to wish everybody a very happy Easter, even though it's a social distancing Easter.
Thanks, sir.
Happy Easter nonetheless.
Happy Easter to you too, and everybody out there. Hope y'all had a real good day. I did not get a basket today, but, you know, that's expected because, you know, social distancing.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just had a couple of steaks for dinner. That's all I did. And you know, again, my prayers and blessings go out to all those people affected by this horrible disease. You know, we've lost more people to this than 9/11, and we got to keep that in mind. So let's all, but we're here to keep on the positive. And on the positive side, my daughter is an ER tech at one of the Albany hospitals, and she had come down last week with COVID-19. And luckily, she's bouncing back from it, and she's feeling a lot better today. Good. So hopefully another week or two, she'll be back to work and back at it again. But yeah, it's a rough thing, and she's had to quarantine herself, so she hasn't seen her kids or her mom or anything like that. You know, she's been just staying in her room the whole time. And I don't know if it's like gulag. We slip food under the door for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, man,
it's just horrible.
Well, you know, Steve, we're at war, man, and it's not an enemy that you can see. You know, like they keep saying the invisible enemy, but all we can do is keep on going, man. And you know, I hope and pray your daughter's well soon. Okay. And,
she'll be doing. She's doing just fine. I appreciate the prayers, though. And just so you know, Suzanne, hello, happy Easter.
Hi,
hello,
Suzanne.
Jack. What's going on? George, welcome.
Hi, George.
Thomas from YouTube, welcome. Hello.
Thomas.
And Alan, hello. How are you, brother?
Hey, Alan.
And you know, really cool. Cool. We're seeing some new people come in from the YouTube page, and that is just awesome. Hello to Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
And hello to Dave.
Big Dave.
So here we are tonight. Another wonderful squatching thing. We are just trying to provide some entertainment for folks tonight. Now, I don't know how good the internet's going to last. All of a sudden, about 25 minutes ago, the internet started getting kind of blinky and blanky and blip. and I had a complete internet loss for a few minutes. I had to reboot my router, but I do notice, at least on my board, there seems to be some buffering. I don't know if that's actually a problem on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, but we will have to we'll have to see how the show goes. If we lose internet connection, we'll just consider the show done until next week. We do have a windstorm coming, but it's not here yet, so I have no idea why this would be doing this now. It just happens. And of course, I talked earlier about, to Chris, I am doing a COVID-19 project. And so I'm going to have to take a second here to kind of shut a couple of things down. So I'll be right back. It's only going to take me a quick second just to go push a button here and push a button there. So give me one quick second.
Well, good. Steve, while you're doing that, I'd like to remind all our friends that are watching through the YouTube feed, please hit like, subscribe, and if you want to, leave a comment. It helps us. It really does help the channel. I mean, it's not like we're going to make $1 million off of it or anything, but anything you can do to help us support the channel, we appreciate it. And who we got over here? Tack. Oh, thanks, Tack. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm back, and hello to Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Ashley, and hey, there's my nephew, Mr. Jamie. Hello, Jamie.
Jamie.
So, it's like I'm trying to dig for stuff to come up with because, even the hoaxers have kind of taken a vacation, I think. Although did find this wonderful gem on the book here within the last week or two. Okay. Guy posting said, found these tracks a few months ago, and in actuality, they were posted over a year and a half ago. Oh. So by a different guy. So something's not right there, Mr. Crosby.
Yeah.
So we have to just keep
our hoaxers are getting lazy. They're not even going outside now.
I know. And hello to Edward. Hello, Edward.
Ed.
Hey, Grasshopper.
Grasshopper, man. Where you been, dude?
And he's over there on the tube. So so we're trying to things are a little herky jerky here. It's kind of like all of a sudden I'll see the screen go and it'll freeze, and then all of a sudden it'll go really fast and then back. So it's buffering a little different here. Hopefully it's going out.
Well, I think it's funny here because I know I must look like I'm watching a ping pong game because I'll look over here to check out check out everybody what they're posting in the comments. Then I'll check out Steve back over here while I'm talking to him.
Yes, sir. So a couple of weeks ago we did this show about the Bigfoot peeper, and for the first time I really showed folks on breaking down stories and trying to make sense from a psychological aspect. In case a lot of Grasshopper says, I'm still around, got a drone the other day, damn cop. Yes, very true. I just like the ones with, I'll fly it around, hit that home button, and then it'll come back, and that's all.
Well, I mean, the way that everything is like controlled with your phone here lately. And it's like now, if you're not careful, you're going to be flying your drone around the yard and your car is going to take off.
or else your phone's going to take off. Like, where's my phone going?
Yeah.
So anyway,
technology.
As a lot of folks know, I've been getting very deep into criminal psychology and what makes sense and what doesn't. And, we talked a couple of weeks ago about the Bigfoot peeping Bigfoot and how the story just didn't make sense and some of the stuff as we tore it apart. One of the things that I noticed is I wanted to see if Bob Hieronymus, the dude that said he was the guy in the Bigfoot suit in the Patterson Gimlin film.
Yeah.
If he made sense. Now, a lot of people do not understand this too. And, there was like one critic or one skeptic, I should say, that was saying, well, how can you say that? Well, hold on. This is two separate subjects. If just because Bob Hieronymus is not telling the truth does not mean that the Patterson-Gimlin film is real. You know, you got to understand that kind of concept. That's a whole totally.
But first, Steve, you need to tell everybody that we are speaking from a third person point of view. We're not right. We're like the devil's advocate here. We're not saying yay or nay. Okay.
Correct. So that's a totally. We are looking at Bob Hieronymus's claims by themselves.
Right.
So, and hello to Sarah Lynn. Hello.
Sarah.
You have to kind of separate the two issues. Just because if we find Bob Hieronymus is lying, doesn't mean Patterson-Gimlin is real. It's a totally separate topic.
Right.
So let's break down. And what I did was I put together some audio of some Bob Hieronymus testimony. Most of it comes from the lie detector show he did years ago. And he passed a lie detector, but we'll get more into why. And I think people, as they listen to the audio, I think it's a real good representation of why he passed a lie detector test, because he didn't care. And that's very clear. So let's play the audio and we'll get into it. And we got a bunch of other things to talk about tonight too. So.
The next day I drove home and I went up to the local water hole where all the guys hung out, and I lifted the trunk up. I said, take a look at this. I didn't tell them what it was. I said, just look at this and do not forget what this looks like. Well, 2 or 3 weeks later, out come the movie, on the television, the film. I said, aha, that's what you were doing,
Why did you show the suit to those guys?
Because I wanted them to know, when they found out what it was, that I wasn't lying. But I really did do this.
When you saw on that film the Bigfoot image that so many of us saw and so many of us believed, what were you thinking at home all those years when we were buying this hook, line, and sinker?
I was hoping, well, maybe if I keep my mouth shut, someday they'll pay me the money.
So did you ever feel guilty?
No, because it wasn't illegal to do that,
But you tricked America.
I was supposed to have been paid for wearing a suit in the woods, I didn't care what they'd done with the suit, or what they'd done with the film.
But you never felt bad that here you were part of a hoax that would trick people like me into believing there was a swamp monster running around out there.
No, it didn't bother me.
Did you ever think to yourself, now, y'all, this is wrong?
Well, he was going to make money off this. He had this pretty well planned out.
Make money off hoaxing people?
Make money off a hoax, yeah. And he did.
You didn't.
I didn't.
And that's why you're here.
Like 2 or 3 of them that made lots and lots of money off it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many yards it was, and it turned, the old Bigfoot looked and looked at him and went on. All this time, waiting for a bullet to crack through my butt.
So there we have the audio here. So anyway, let's throw out a couple of more hellos. Mick, happy Easter to you, Mick. Good to see you.
Mick.
OT, good to see you, brother.
OT.
Welcome. And everybody is saying safe. Thank you for the wishes. Hello to Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
So anyway, okay. So let's break this audio clip down to the bare bones.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris and I talked before the show, and the biggest thing in that is, well, I stopped by the local watering hole and showed, and you remember this. Now, he claims he wants to make money off this hoax. He was promised money.
Right.
The first thing you're not going to do is show the thing to people, because then you're not going to make money. People are going to call you out then and there.
Right.
Right. Now, so if he showed 4 or 5 people, it's amazing to me that these 4 or 5 people didn't come forward, for 38 years before Hieronymus came forward.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that you're going to go to a local watering hole. Hey, look what I got here, boys. It makes no sense. Number one, if you commit a crime, and even though he says it's not illegal, it's still a as we've spoken before, it's a dishonesty. So if you're going to keep a scam, a ruse, anything going, it's still a ruse. If you're going to keep a ruse going, the last thing you're going to do is show anybody the product. Right? You're going to say, hey, you're a bank robber is not going to say, hey, just so you guys know, you hear about something next couple of days, look at this bag of money. You know, you're not going to do that. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, yeah, man, that's the thing. If he claims he knew it was for a hoax, all right, well, what's the first thing he did? He goes to the local watering hole and shows the guys the suit and busts the hoax.
Exactly.
But yet he's supposed to be getting paid $1,000 for helping on the hoax.
Right, which he never got paid according to him. Of course not. And of course we want to. Something's going on.
Jimmy Trick.
Yeah, here's the problem. There we go. There we are. So, hello, Jimmy. So if you're the last thing you do, if you want to get paid, you better not be showing that stuff out there. It's gotta pick up traction to get your money.
Right.
So it made no sense for him to go do that. Now, as far as him showing his mother and his nephew or whatever that were home, I can understand that I can give a pass on, but for him to go down to a local watering hole and show a bunch of people sitting around, it makes no sense psychologically. It doesn't sound like, that is something a normal person would do in the case of this.
And the reasoning is kind of odd to me too. He's showing the guys the thing in the trunk, the suit in the trunk, so they won't think he's lying later.
Well, that was another thing. I wanted to show him so they didn't think I'm lying. And hence therein is the setup. You see, he doesn't want you to think he's lying. Not that he doesn't want them to think he doesn't want you to think he's lying. So I showed it to a bunch of people. You can ask them. And fact remains is that after 38 years, these guys aren't going to remember whether he showed it to them October 1st or November 1st. Remember that too.
Yeah.
Timelines get blurred, friends.
That's right.
Timelines get blurred. And, again, he goes on to say, I didn't feel bad about it. I didn't feel bad about it. No, I didn't feel bad about it. That's why he passed a lie detector test, because he has no guilt about it whatsoever. Just like he had, if he did it, he has no guilt. But fast forward, he has no, he what's the word I'm looking for? He has no guilt at all for even saying this, because the way he feels of it, as you hear him say, well, they made money off this hoax. He doesn't say our hoax. He doesn't say what I did. He says a hoax.
Right.
So my gut feeling is Bob is Hieronymus is a Yakima boy, and he got pissed off that Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin got this film, and Roger Patterson was, showing it around, making some money.
Right.
And so that's what I think got him started on this kick. He shows his real anger towards them. Not that he didn't get paid. He actually made a comment. Well, I don't care about the $1,000. But then on the other hand, he's talking about, I didn't care about getting paid. I wanted to get paid, kind of blowing that off. But then he's very pointedly here saying that they made money off of this, and I didn't get mine.
So he didn't make any money, right?
Right. So which is it? Now, is it kind of stupid? Do you think that if you have the guy in the suit, you're not going to pay him? Makes no sense for them just to ignore him. Oh, we'll ignore him. No, it doesn't make any sense. And you're gonna, why wait 38 years after it made all this money? At its height of popularity, that's when he should have came forward. So, do I believe this guy? No. Do I believe he fooled the lie detector? Well, if you're telling yourself this for so long, yeah, I mean, he can fool a lie detector test. They're not infallible. So, and again, we don't know what kind of test that was administered. Mind you, a TV polygraph is nothing like the real thing. Just like that polygraph on Justin's Mayhaw, as we talked about, a couple of months ago. That was nothing like a real polygraph exam would be.
Yeah.
That was somebody that took an internet course and then decided to be a polygrapher, and that's not the way it works. This guy may have some. The guy that was doing the polygraph exams, he may have some background. He may be an ex-FBI agent, whatever, but I'm sure he had some constraints with TV, and it's very difficult sometimes. When we did Truth Behind the Loch Ness Monster, there was a period of time the room was very, very isolated, and there was a lot of talking. And the whole entire polygraph, I watched the whole episode. The polygraph consisted of maybe about 3 minutes of video.
Yeah.
Whereas, so I don't know, we really don't know if they followed the policies and procedures. Now,
there was something else about it too, Steve, that he said that stuck with me. A comment that he made. He didn't feel bad about it because it wasn't illegal. Now, I have heard this before. Yeah. I've heard this same comment from people before that participated in the Georgia hoax. So,
well, yeah, the amount of just the amount, how quick he comes back with, no, I don't feel remorse. No, I don't feel sorry for tricking people. No, I don't. But then in other interviews, he says that, well, I wanted people to know. So he's nothing but a contradiction. And if I had him in front of me, I'd be grilling him. Oh, why did you say this? Well, if you don't care, what is it? Which is it? Because you're not making a lot of sense.
Well, if he didn't feel bad about tricking people then, why does he want them to know now? I don't understand that.
Right now, Mick also asked a question: which suit did Hieronymus want us to believe was the one he allegedly wore? He never did say. He never did say. Although he did after a while, kind of team up with Philip Morris because that was convenient. But the suit he described it to Greg Long did not match the suit Philip Morris was talking about.
Right.
Of course, they tried it. Right. It was horrible. But if you don't think now people ask, well, why would Bob Hieronymus do this? Well, this is why. Because that's why. Bob Hieronymus, authentic signed 8x10 photo, Bigfoot Patterson Gimlin film. And yes, his signature is right there. Right there. And then here's another one, a different still a one. And this one's over here.
Okay, we're making money now, ain't we, Bob?
Yeah. So don't tell me for a New York minute that that we're actually making money. It's all about the money in that case. I really think that is. I think he now. Edward says everybody makes money out of Bigfoot regardless. Wrong. Wrong.
No.
Only certain people make money. Only certain people. Even Bob Gimlin makes tons of money. Yes, he does. I'm pretty sure he does. He does okay because he's got, he's doing all these lectures. He's getting called all over the country to go here and talk about it, as does Dr. Meldrum, as does a few others. But let's face it, there isn't much portion of it.
I don't think there's been any disclosure of how much Bob gets paid for a conference or anything, but I don't think he's going to be like getting rich off this deal.
Oh, I think no. I think he's doing pretty good.
You think so?
Oh, well, let's face it. Let's look at the bare bones. I would dare say he's probably getting a $1,500 to $2,000 minimum. Maybe less, maybe more. I do know certain people that get $1,500 normally. Sometimes they'll take a break and do it for $5,000 or a grand or whatever, but they have all their expenses paid.
Yeah. Well, if he does that once a month, that's still, that's not much money, dude.
Oh, don't forget, you got to pay your booking agent too.
Oh,
and I don't think his booking agent's working for 10%. So even if he's working for a third of it, You're still making, and you're doing it once a month, and maybe you're doing a couple other cheaper ones. Maybe you're making 10 grand extra a year. So that isn't tons of money. Even that, if you think about it, that's not tons of money.
No, it's not.
If Dr. Meldrum can make, 10, 20 grand a year on lectures about Bigfoot, that's not a ton of money.
Yeah.
No matter how you kick it, it's not a ton of money. So Mick says, who's made the most money from it? Carmine Dyer Standing sure as heck wasn't Bob Gimlin. Well, I'm going. Okay, sit down, folks. I'm going to tell you who I believe has made the most money in Bigfoot research. Anybody? Let's play the game. Anybody want to on social media here? Add a comment right there. Who do you think will have made the most money out of Bigfoot? Take a guess. Anybody want to guess?
Wait a minute. I'm going to give them a hint. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to see if you can read this.
No.
Oh, come on.
No. I really want to say, yeah, the Finding Bigfoot folks have made money.
Are we talking currently, or are we talking
all time?
All time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll stick with that one.
I mean, yeah, and of course, did they work for it? Did they get their money from conning anybody? No, absolutely not. They provided a service to a production company and to a network, and they provided it back. So I'm cool with that. Peter Byrne. There's another one that tops the 7 figures. He actually bragged about it, saying that he's gotten millions of dollars from educational universities to study money or to study Bigfoot. So yeah, Viscardi's low on the totem pole. Dude. So we have the Finding Bigfoot guys. We have Peter Byrne. And then maybe we have Viscardi, and not how you think. It's not because his movies are selling like crazy, or because he's got a lot of big time payroll sponsorship for his old podcast or whatever it is. It's but because he's been taking investment money for hotels or for museums rather.
Right.
I'm going to build this museum. I'm going to build this museum. I'm going to build this museum. Now we're 12 years down the road, still no museum, but he's been taking money from museums for 12 years. No museum.
Yeah.
And I think so the Finding Bigfoot guys and even Peter Byrne to some extent got it all legitimately. They needed to produce results, and they did, and they worked for somebody else for those results, and that's all fine. And you got Carmine, who got money for stuff that he never built.
If Peter,
as far as Dyer, if he made 75 grand on it, he's lucky.
Yeah.
I really think that his second Bigfoot tour was a big joke, and it was a big flub. And I talked to some people in the inner workings of that. It was a disaster monetarily for him.
Yeah.
So you look at it from that aspect. If you want to bring it down to all money.
Well, if Peter Byrne was getting money from universities, I'd say, he definitely is number one, because you can get some big money from universities for stupid stuff. They don't care to spend. They don't care to spend tax money, which is funneled over to the universities for grants and stuff. They don't care to spend that for stupid stuff.
And that's true, Edward. I do believe it's fine to make money if you make it honestly. I mean, have I hit that 5-figure mark? No, I don't think so. I'm in the 4-figure mark, but that's from book sales and books and the few speaking engagements. But that's for 20 years. I'm in the 4-figure mark, So yeah, it's by definition, I'm not making, I'm making a few pennies back for what I put into research. I'll give you a good example. I may get a stipend of a few $100s to go to a show, 10 hours, 12 hours away. but then after gas, lodging, and meals, which I don't get, I'm pretty much, breaking even. And then whatever I sell at my table, some books or some wristbands or, my auto stickers, what are you making? Okay, I got a few $100s. Okay. That's now I'm not hitting my bank account now to pay for meals. I can pay out of that. And that's all it is. You tend to just break even on a lot of things.
Suzanne makes a good point here, Steve. Can you bring her comment up?
Oh yeah, what about the Tom Slick money? Well,
right.
Good point.
Yeah.
And again, that was Peter Byrne.
Yeah.
Again, when we did mention Peter Byrne, so and I think at some point, I think John Green got some of that, and Renee DeHinden got some of that, but
yeah. But mostly the Tom Slick money was for the Yeti, though. Yeah. He didn't spend a lot on Bigfoot.
OT says the Biscardi Museum will be made after Sasquatch is found. The Kokanee Bear commercials. I don't think Mick, he made a ton of money on that. Clickbait. I wonder what Wes Germer makes. Sasquatch Chronicles is fairly popular. Yes. Yeah. If you like, fantasy, about 80% of the time. I was on a show actually Friday night. I was on the Gentle Giant show out of California. And I spoke about Bigfoot way into the middle of the night. It's like a 2-hour show. The show went on for like 2 hours, 15 minutes. And we talked a little bit about, shows and, certain shows that to me are just clickbait. They try to they're not doing any confirmation on anything or looking at the story and saying if it's legit or not. And they're just throwing these people on there for the sake of hearing, campfire stories.
Yeah.
And I don't care if this does not make us the most popular show, but we want to bring you the news and the truth. So at least when you come here, you can get honest commentary and the truth. And that's what I stick to. Grasshopper says Slick files are still missing or destroyed.
I don't know. That's a new one on me.
Well, they are. They are missing, or are they? You see, they are missing. But I'm just going to do this. Like I say, I'm the keeper of many secrets. Many secrets. And you're not going to get it out of me, but I know who has the Slick files. I was actually I got that in front of my lap a couple of years ago. So I will not reveal the source. And I'm a guy who it's kind of funny, Chris, for all the crap I put out there, I'm a guy who predominantly keeps my mouth shut about big secrets.
Yep.
It's like I know how to classify my secrets and how not to classify them, and when stuff needs to come out and when it doesn't. This person asked me to keep it a secret. I'm going to keep that promise, and they will be poofed out there when at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
But when that time is, I don't know. I would expect it to be relatively within the next 10 years, but I can only say. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's move on. It's kind of interesting how we segued way into this whole money topic. It's kind of cool. It's what I love about having this social media and people kind of directing the way the show wants to go. So while we're at it here, we talked months ago about the Justin Mayhaw polygraph, and every once in a while I go to my bookshelf to get some ideas for a show and what to discuss and what to talk about. And right now in front of me, I have the Bigfoot Yeti and the Last Neanderthal, a geneticist search for modern ape men, written by Dr. Brian Sykes. So
good. Yeah.
So he has a section in the book that talks about the Mayhaw steak. And I'm just going to read this page and a half and see if people want to ask questions or have some ideas. So what it says is the other Bigfoot result that I was very keen to see was Justin Mayhaw's steak, which was our sample number 25106. The steak, you may recall, was a piece of tissue that Justin dug up at a site where he had earlier buried the young Sasquatch that he shot and killed. I would class this as a second order sample only, in that he had seen the creature at the spot, but could not be sure it was from the creature he killed. It was not a first order sample, which the blood on his boot would have been, and we would have been able to identify it. The steak did not look like a bear sample to me. The hair was short, though I later discovered it may have been cut, and very light in color. Nonetheless, Ashland's other hair expert, Cookie Smith, thought that this was probably from a bear, but we couldn't say with much confidence. But that was what the lab results showed as well. Sample 25106 was another Ursus americanus, another black bear. A portion of the steak had been previously sent to Dr. Melba Ketchum's Sasquatch Genome Project, with, as noted earlier, mixed reports being fed back to Justin Smeja. Or Smeja. Nonetheless, she does not identify the mitochondrial DNA from the steak in her online publication as human. The issue circulating in the Bigfoot world was whether the human DNA she found on the steak had come from the sample, in which case Justin may have shot a person, or was it just contamination once again? Bear DNA had been found on the steak by another lab, but they had not used such a careful decontamination protocol as ourselves. It left the question open whether the bear DNA might have come from saliva left by a black bear as it scavenged the Sasquatch carcass. Now the result was clear. The steak was from a bear, and the human DNA recovered by Dr. Ketchum was most probably the result of contamination. Next, I had the uneasy task of conveying the lab results to Justin in front of the cameras. I had reminded him that he was under no obligation to do this, but he agreed all the same. The location was a jolly bar, the Red Frog, near Colfax, California, and I broke the news as gently as I could. His reaction was enormous disappointment, which was only to be expected, but not primarily because he would no longer be credited with obtaining the first genuine proof of Sasquatch. What really upset Justin was that he thought everyone would now assume he had lied. That was an overreaction, given that the animal he shot had been buried for over a month and had probably been found and eaten by forest scavengers long before he returned in an attempt to locate the body. The DNA result had not shown he had lied at all. It only showed the steak was from a bear. I pointed this out to Justin on camera, but it was cut. So that's very interesting, his reaction from Sykes's yep, Joe. Absolutely. So, Joe, welcome, Joe. You're late. So we'll recap really quick. We've talked about Bob Anonymous. We've talked about COVID-19. We've talked about making money in the Bigfoot world and what a losing proposition it is for most of us. And you know what, Mike? I tend to agree with you. And you're true. It's true. When I saw the actual video of it, he didn't look surprised. Yeah. But I also caution that what you see on the video may be a reshoot. You know, so by that time he's pretty much. And hello, Gary from Twitter, I believe. That's the only place we air on Periscope, or unless he's on Periscope primarily. Hello to Gary. Welcome. I'm glad to see one of our Twitter folks is popping in.
Hi, Gary. Yeah, welcome.
So, hi, Bob. How are you tonight? So, I just got a notification about unstable connection, but so far we're working okay. I believe everybody's still commenting, so we're still here after 40 minutes of doing this. But yeah, so I have to caution about that. When you necessarily see on TV isn't necessarily what you get. He knew, and he didn't look shocked. It could have been a reshoot. Well, that was good. That was good, guys. Can we shoot that again from this angle? Right. And can we shoot this again from that angle? And then what they end up doing is But yeah, I agree, Mike. I do agree. The body language to me shows lying. It's and again, let's look at the story from a psychological standpoint. And that's a good point. I should have brought this case up. You shoot something and then you bugger off, and then you're going to get your sample. Hello to Frank. Welcome, Frank, another Twitter user.
Frank.
So it doesn't sound right. It sound like you have the audacity to shoot something, and then you're doing all this. It just psychologically doesn't make sense. Had I done that interview, what I know now, when we had that big group podcast with him on it, I would have had 1,000 more questions. But it is what it is. The whole idea is that in this field, you move forward and learn more as you go on. And even body language aside, Mike, you can take his story and tear it apart, because psychologically it does not make sense. And that's huge. That's true.
That's good.
He did the Hulk Hogan thing. I'm going to choke you out, brother.
That's good.
But yeah, so that just amazing. And psychologically, it just does not make sense, because, I felt bad. But why'd you shoot it then? It's like all these, when you see a behavior pattern or a belief pattern, it goes like this, as we saw with the Hieronymus story. Guess what? It's crap. We saw that with the Bigfoot peeper. Oh, I was just watch the waves. Oh, I was taping it for 8 minutes. Oh, my wife came in and panicked. So then I grabbed my gun. And then she called the sheriff's department. See the waves, everything's okay. But now all of a sudden, towards the end, it's going to be this kind of hubbub. Because what liars do is they don't think it out. They don't think of the psychology, because they're not in that modality. Again, we've talked time and time again about children and Bigfoot videos. Here, oh, look there, Sonny, it's a Sasquatch. No, if you see a Sasquatch, you're going to do what Chris Bennett did. Okay, I got a few minutes. I got a couple of seconds of film of this thing. I think we better get out of here. We got a 15-year-old with us.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. That's a reaction of a parent, plain and simple.
Well, I had people ask me, skeptical type of people, and they said, "Why didn't you run towards it when you saw that family of what you thought was Bigfoot creatures on that hillside? Why didn't you run towards them?" I said, "Well, I saw full-grown male gorillas up there at the Louisville Zoo. I didn't feel the need to run towards them either, because I feel like the thing could have torn me apart."
Right.
And I don't know that they would, but I believe they could. That's the thing. I don't think they would, but I believe they could.
I mean, have I run towards them? Yeah, I have, but I didn't have a 15-year-old kid with me.
Not me, no.
Oh, and you're right, George. Absolutely, about psychologically the OJ syndrome,
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of 2 photos or videos, I think, are Patty and Freeman. That's actually Freeman, Freeman. Talking about Paul Freeman. We did a show about that back quite a few months ago, 3-4 months ago, I think. Any Bigfoot researchers that use UV cameras? No, I do not. IR, yes. UV, I don't think so, because it doesn't really. The reason why I think a lot of people using IR is because it's easy to navigate with.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get the UV, it's kind of disorienting a bit, I think.
No. Yeah, we used the IR camera on the 24/7 cam that we had years ago, and man, that was a project. I'd like to start that back up sometime.
Mick says, "You didn't want to take one for the team, Chris?"
No, and that's the thing,
I did.
When we had that sighting, I was carrying a pistol with me, but Scott didn't have a pistol with him. and Tommy didn't have a pistol with him. You know, Tommy, matter of fact, I don't think Tommy was 15 at that time, Steve. I think Tommy was around 10, maybe 11. And although I did feel a little secure because I had a sidearm with me, there was a whole group of these things on the hillside up there. And, you know, I think the best thing to do would just be get out of there. So that's what we did.
See, talking about taking one for the team, I would have, because I would have been, I was like, yeah, I want to be the first piece of Bigfoot evidence ever. You know,
Well,
I come back, hey fellas, look, I came back, but it got my nuts.
Well, you know, and if Steve was with me and he ran towards a group like that and he got, you know, beat up for it or something, I would just tell the coroners, you know, hey, you know, could you try to get a DNA sample from the saliva around those bite marks?
Can you get any DNA off your arm, which is on the ground?
Yeah. Are those Bigfoot hairs in his teeth? Can you extract some of those hairs?
Yes. Oops, things are moving. Any thoughts on Paul Freeman? We talked about the Freeman footage at length quite some time ago. I believe there's some authenticity to it. It would seem like that, because I always complain about, you know, these videos which are obvious hoaxes, and just so you know, I have these little magnetic things that that I have. I keep these little toys around. I also have a widget spinner somewhere too. I don't know. I collect all these little things, and they end up on my desk, and put that over there. Oh, guys, there goes the neighborhood. Eric Altman is in the house. Hello, Eric.
Mr. Altman, welcome.
So I think, Paul, there's some legitimacy to Paul stuff, because one of the things I complain about a lot is, you know, when we get a film, we usually get that little snippet, and that's usually a big indicator to me that it's another indicator that this is a hoax video. If you just get, here it is, and there it is, it's ending. And there's certain circumstances that I will allow. You know, we looked at that Yeti video from Russia. Okay, I can get that. Okay, you see it walking down the road. Okay, now you're going to pull out a camera. I understand that. But you're in the woods. Oh, here's your kids, and then all of a sudden the Bigfoot runs across. Come on, come on now. And then there's no videos earlier in the day, no videos after in the day, especially from people that are so-called researchers that are doing this as well. They're putting out these videos with, oh yeah, I saw this. Here's the picture, but there's no comparison pictures. There's no measurements. There's nothing. Right. And they got to do your homework.
You got to go back. Got
to do your homework.
Yep.
Because I would never, you know, in a day put, you know, even the FLIR image that I put out in 2013, that I can thank James Lansing. He had his FLIR with him, and we got this with the team. I went back the next day. I mean, I didn't post anything about it until I had got some, you know, scene shots. Okay, this is where it was. You know, I look for tracks. Unfortunately, it was along the shoreline of a tributary going to South Bay, and you know, a boat goes through that. There goes the tracks. Let's see. I'm just looking. I'm just going through some of the comments. Who admitted it was fake? I'm not sure what we're talking about. Check your Facebook, man. Okay. So the thing that haunted Freeman was the fact he admitted to trying to duplicate the evidence he found. For that, people took it for granted he faked the evidence. Yeah, very true. Yeah, Paul was quite an interesting cat. You know, that's one of the films, as we talked earlier, that you have this before, after.
Well, that was one of the things that I just found a little bit odd, Steve, that like when Dr. Meldrum went up there and to visit, to check out some casts that Paul Freeman had made, and just so happens that there was a fresh trackway after Dr. Meldrum showed up.
Okay.
I didn't like that. That's too convenient. You know, that's me.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Mike White said the Russian kids broke down and admitted it was fake. Okay, there we
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah. Good.
Well, you know what? If anything, that was a pretty good looking video. Obviously, if you send people out there to go take a look at it, and being from Russia, there's really not much investigation I can do on that. So I can only take it. Well, it kind of look legitimate.
Well,
I can understand. I can understand how that unfolded. Whether or not it's true is another thing.
And the mayor of that area went out there with Igor Burtsev, I think, in one documentary. And this mayor, oh my God, this dude is like 8 feet tall. He's a Sasquatch himself. He's a shaved Sasquatch. This dude is huge. And he was telling those kids, you better be good, and stuff. Wow, if I was one of those kids, I'd be terrified of this dude. God, dude was bigger than the Bigfoot.
Yeah, but Mike, if you can do me a favor, if there's a link to that,
yeah,
can you please throw that in the chat? I would love to read that article and maybe even blog about it a bit too. Because you can't be 100% of the time, and I'm just looking at the video from face value and what they had talked about. It seemed like their conversation was legit, but then again, Conrad Chris, I don't speak Russian. I spent too much time in Gulag. Really, it's kind of difficult that when you hear something in a different language, if it's legit or not, because we don't know the inflection.
Yeah.
Like I can say, oh yeah, it was really, really exciting. You can tell that's not legitimate.
It's hard to tell body language when you don't speak the language that they're speaking.
Well, body language is universal, but it's hard to tell body language when you don't see the bodies.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to tell the inflection. Oh yeah, the ex. Yes, I'm from Gulag. Hello, my comrades. Hey, it's Fultz. Fultz is in the chat.
Anyway, Fultz. How you doing, Kevin?
Gary asks, do researchers ever go to the Solomon Islands? I haven't even been to Asia or the Pacific.
Well, if you're taking up a collection to send somebody, I will volunteer. I don't think there's much reason to do any research there, but I'll tell you what, they got some good looking beaches. They do.
So Nick also said that actually, Chris, the chance encounter with Dr. Meldrum and Freeman actually reinforced Dr. Meldrum's belief, for a better word, in Sasquatch.
Well, I can understand that.
Hello, Matthew.
Hey, Matt. The only thing that I didn't like, okay, I'm a huge Bigfoot proponent. Okay, I really am. I know they're out there. I've seen them. But the thing is, I got to put on my skeptic's hat. And if something seems kind of odd to me, I'll just tell you that seems kind of odd. And when Meldrum showed up, that was pretty convenient to have a fresh trackway to look at.
Well,
and it could have been, it could have been legitimate, but.
I mean, if you're finding an area where you're getting a lot of tracks and it's legit, I mean, I'll give you a great example. I mean, Chris, 2011, 2012, 2013, had seen a lot of, sightings in one of my research areas. And, everybody in the team just about experienced something. Hearing something, seeing something, getting rocks thrown at them, getting audio, getting video. So it's not hard when you're onto them.
Right.
That is the one thing. But does the evidence stand the test of science? And that's why I don't make really big. I put it out there in little dribs and drabs, but I'm not saying that this is the end all be all evidence. This is what we found. This is the interesting things we found. Right. I'm saying, hey, we have found the Sasquatch evidence. And we see that too much, the grandstanding with a lot of evidence. So remember the handprint out in California? Oh, and they had this big press conference and 3 people showed up.
Yeah.
Because, that was, we can thank the 3 Stooges for that one. Nobody's ever going to show up to a Bigfoot conference again. Or a Bigfoot press conference, I should say. So it's very important that, we do the homework. And Kevin asked, am I still getting sightings in the Whitehall area? And the answer to that is we're having a little stutter here on the screen. Hopefully obviously the show is still streaming. So I'm sure the stream will be okay. It's just that what I'm seeing gets a little buffered once in a while. Am I still getting sightings in the Whitehall area? That's as they say, Whitehall. Yeah, there still are some sightings out there. Haven't heard much recently. Nobody's outside right now. So and for the last month, so it's been really quiet.
Yeah.
People gotta know that New York is the #1 state for the coronavirus. Yet we don't have the toughest restrictions like some states like California, and the UK is in complete lockdown. So we're gonna expect that. I know when everybody goes back to work, it's gonna be like, oh shit, what do we do now? It's like, okay, I got to go to work, but I want to go squatching. I got to go to work, and I want to go squatching. California shut all their state parks down. New York is not. And that's because of the geographical differences. Everything in New York is 125, 150 miles south of it. Most of it doesn't mean it's not going to strike here. I mean, my own daughter got it, for crying out loud. So, and thank God she's okay. So, but anyway, I want to talk about some books tonight too. That some of the essential books that I have in my collection. I feel that if people can get their hands on, and a lot of these books are dated, but you need to get onto Matt Rudy asked if Southwest Pennsylvania anything recent. That's not my geographical area. That would be a question for Mr. Altman.
Yeah, where's Eric at? Eric, you got anything going on?
But some of the books I love. One of them is one of my first Bigfoot books, and as a young kid, I used to I had this childhood fascination with Bigfoot. Of course, I lost it. So here's a question: if I can get this up, we're sorry, we're blurbing a little here, so that's not. Oh no, Joe, Whitehall is the Bigfoot capital of New York. Tom Connolly asked if I read Quantum Bigfoot. Can I comment on that? I have not. Frankly, I think people have gone a little off the deep end because it's been so long that I call it the Eric Beckshire syndrome. Eric Beckshire was a flesh and blood guy, and after a while he started believing otherwise. Why? Because he couldn't bring it to an end. He couldn't grasp it. I'm sorry. I challenge anybody to go in the woods and run down a deer and tackle one. You're not going to do it. And if you can't do that to a deer, what the hell do you think you're going to do to a primate? You're not. As far as I understand the Quantum Bigfoot, it's kind of like the interdimensional Bigfoot. No, bullshit. Years ago, from Ron's words himself, these are real flesh and blood creatures. Now we've turned them into something else. I'm sorry. As far as I'm having language, I think we're getting a lot of anthropocentrism in there, which is the ability to attribute human functions to other creatures. Good example is like your dog is talking to you. He's not really talking to you.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I think people are.
I've always been fascinated about the claims that.
Oh, okay. Hang on a second. Mike just said, "Sorry, everyone, I'm not finding anything about Russian Bigfoot with kids when Googling it was revealed a couple of years ago back on TV." Mike, I actually think we're talking about a different video. Well, I think we're talking about a different video, because this video came out maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe 6 months ago. So yeah, and George, on what I was saying, agreed with me 100%. And William, Willie, me, hello, William. I met you haven't bought a book too. We chatted about coming on an expedition. Yes, Willie. I gotta say, right now there's been nothing going on because of COVID-19. So, I'm playing it safe, even the woods. Got to. I'm a diabetic. I'm a smoker. I have high blood pressure. The diabetes is the big one. Is the big thing. I don't want to drop dead if I get this. Because even though I've had the pneumonia shot, I don't want to. Yeah, and now we're in a little buffer, so I can't put anything up right now. Or the Bigfoots in New York, supposedly, to the ones in PNW, are more like the skunk ape from the south. Neither. The Squatches in New York State are long-haired, lanky. They're not very bulky like the ones in the Pacific Northwest, but they are taller than the ones seen in Florida, in the skunk ape in Florida, southern Alabama, southern Georgia, Mississippi. They're taller. Usually the ones I think in the skunk apes are usually about 6 foot, 6'5". The ones we have out here are 7-8 foot, just like the rest of them. So yeah. I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, I'm sorry, Willie, you're back in. Yeah, it's just yeah, okay. Yeah, met me in Geneseo a couple of months ago. That would have been at Winter Parafest. Yep, absolutely. No, nothing yet going on. So Mick also pointed out that David Berkowitz's neighbor's dog talked to him. He sure did.
Yeah.
Well, he admitted that was all bullshit anyway.
Was he like the son of Sam guy or something?
That
Berkowitz?
you were 100% correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Took orders from a dog. Okay.
Well, and then there's questions about, can a Sasquatch catch coronavirus? I don't know.
Well, hey, a tiger did, if a cat can get it.
I don't know. Well, no, the tiger actually, they said that was fake. That was false news.
Oh, no.
Fake news. The zoo came out and said, no, why would we even test a cat for coronavirus?
Oh, my goodness. That was fake news.
That was fake news.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
That was fake news.
Why are we living in an age where people can lie about their tiger?
Well, lying about their Bigfoot.
Oh, man.
That's right. And Bob says you're going to have the balls to cough on a Bigfoot.
I don't think I could get close enough, Bob. Oh. I don't think I could. My legs wouldn't let me.
Not to get off topic, because we, like I said, we still got an hour show left, so we got a lot of time yet. But did anybody see that video of that Kenneth Copeland, that wacky pastor that oh, be gone. I cast you out in the name of God, COVID-19. Like, oh my God, what a crackpot. Anybody follows him. Woohoo. Yeah, it's like really bad.
Oh, yeah, Kenneth Copeland. He's like one of those TV minister guys.
Yeah, he's a bullshit artist.
I like Jimmy Swaggart better because at least he was related to Jerry Lee Lewis,
Or what's that dude that's always faith healing? Peter Popoff, the fake Peter Popoff. Oh yeah, you're real. What an idiot. Yeah, you know what? Let's send Peter Popoff in the middle of fucking New York City. Pardon my French. Let him go down there and start doing some of his heals. Let's see how quick how well that goes. So, sorry, I had to go off on a tangent there. What's the matter?
Well, we were talking a while ago about language, or somebody mentioned it, and I have heard this, but I've heard people reports about hearing language, and of course, you and I both have listened to the Sierra tapes, and we had oh gosh, what was his name? Steve, the guy that did the Sierra tapes. Oh my God!
Buy my water or the Miracle Spring Oil.
But anyway, with all these claims of language, I've had some sightings. I don't know you have too, Steve. I've never heard any sort of language at all. No kind of vocalization that would be even taken remotely for language. So I don't know. Could they have a language?
I don't think so. Because think about their population, how sparse they are.
Yeah.
It would make no sense why Bigfoot would speak Cherokee here, and then there's people that say they speak this here, or how would no? It doesn't work that way. It is anthropocentrism at its best to think that they may have their own language per se, if you want to call it language. Right. I don't have my book in front of me tonight. I wasn't pimping my book.
You know what? I think their language is like snapping a stick, or stomping the ground.
How would they learn Cherokee? How would they keep that up amongst all of them? They wouldn't.
Oh, we've been watching some of the same videos, hadn't we?
Yeah. No. So we got a lot of questions going on.
Kevin, you got it, Kevin. It was Ron Moorhead. Yeah, he rode with us up there to the
Now, John made a comment that says a loved one follows Joel Osteen. It hurts. Well, here's the thing about Joel Osteen. He doesn't faith heal. He doesn't give you anything fake. He doesn't say if you, at least not that I've seen, if you give me money like Creflo Dollar, you give me money and God will give you money 10 times fold back. That's Creflo Dollar. All I know is that, from what I've heard of Osteen on the radio once in a while is positivity and how you can overcome stuff. So if that's worth a buck or two, it's a lot better than, what's the difference between listening to Joel Osteen and giving him money and a psychologist giving him money? Or a psychologist telling, well, how do you feel about that? So it's if it gets you through, then it's a positive. And it's not like he's not preaching anything like negative, he just, so I really don't see the problem with Joel Osteen, although I think he's being a little cheap. And people have complained about him not putting money out there during this time. I would tell you, Chris, it was Creflo Dollar. Of course he wants money. It's part of his name. Yep. But communication is not synonymous with language. Amen, Nick. You are 100% correct on that.
I agree with
that. And Joe says, I'm so glad you mentioned language. Well, thanks you, Joe. I don't know if it's the first time you've come on the show, but if you listen to the archives of this show, which you can find at squatchdtv.com, we talk about this stuff every week, and our stuff is very ground based. And that samurai tape, do you believe in that, Steve? Well, here's my thought on that. The samurai chatter was not taken by Ron Moorhead. It was taken by Al Berry, who was a journalist that was brought there by Ron Moorhead. So I'm not sure. I have mixed feelings on the Sierra Sounds. What I can say is there seems to be in the Sierra Sounds Part 2, the ones Ron Moorhead took, there seemed to be a little more inflection in their talking, in their gibber. And again, that may be attributed to anthropocentrism, because some of that, if we are faking something like a Bigfoot talk, we can use our own inflections unknowingly into those types of audio. If you want to hear anthropocentrism at its best on a faked audio, I suggest you go listen to Sasquatch Ontario. Their audios, because they're full of
pretty bad.
So yeah.
I've never heard any language. I've had some really good observations back, in 2010. I've had some good observations here in Kentucky, and I've never heard any spoken words at all.
Somebody also asked me, there's so many questions tonight. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah, man, we got the best audience and the best,
certainly
best group of people that there is. Yeah,
that's what we aim to please with the audience. I mean, the audience asks us a question. There it is. Willie B asked. He just re-asked it. Steve, please tell us the first time you met a Sasquatch. Well, I haven't necessarily met one personally, but I've seen a couple. And I'll give you the one. I'll give you the one in what was it? Was it 2011? I think it was 2011 or 2012. It was 2011. 2012 I had the juvenile one, but 2011 I was out with my team, and my team was experiencing hearing things wrong, basically circling us all night long, getting escorts in certain places. People were seeing glibs of eye shine here and there. And what had happened was we had got everybody together after a few hours out in the field, got everybody together on the fire, and we're all taking a break, eating some food, doing some hot dogs or whatever, food we had. And what we did was I ended up going out to my car, which is probably about 100 feet away down a little dirt path to the dirt road. From the campsite we were at. A very high activity area over the years, not just myself, but a couple other reports that have came in over the years. And I went out to my car to get some batteries because I needed to put them in my headlamp. And I get my batteries from my pocket, light up a cigarette. I figure I'm just going to take a break here and enjoy the quiet and see if I can hear anything while, and that's a tactic I use. If I get everybody in camp, once in a while, I'll sneak off and just sit in a remote spot to look and listen and see if anything's lurking around us. And if people, where am I in New York State? Well, the encounter I'm talking about occurred about 12 to 14 miles southwest of Whitehall, New York, in the Adirondack State Park. So I take my flashlight and I shine it downhill towards the north. The hill, there was an incline, decline, whatever you want to call it. So I shine it down the north side of the north side of the road, and nothing. So I spin around and I shine it up the south side, which is uphill, and there's a utility pole there because our utility is. At the very, very end of this road, there is a house, but the house isn't really habitated, but there's electrical service that runs there. And mind you, the house is like still about 7-8 miles from where we are. So I shine up the north side, and there, standing next to the utility pole, is this 8-foot creature, standing on 2 feet, 8 foot tall, broad-shouldered, lanky, long-haired, looked like black hair because of but I could see the eyes shining back at me, and they were blinking. And I kind of looked behind it at first, and then I just froze. I didn't move the light. I didn't do nothing. I go, there's one. And then it kind of stood and stared at me. And I don't know how long it went on. I would say about 40 seconds, but time gets very slow when trauma happens. And what I just shook the light a little bit, and it just turned and it walked into the woods. So I immediately call in my AB team and my A team first, field ops team A. They come out and they start looking around. And meanwhile, my videographer, and I have that video somewhere, and I'll show it some other time. I have shown it on the show before. You can see my eyes are like, they're like, because I'm in shock. I'm in shock of what I saw. I couldn't believe that I had such a clear sighting with my naked eyes. I've had some equipment sightings. I don't really consider them sightings anymore. Once you see it with your eyeballs, completely different.
Right.
So the guy, we start measuring the height of it, and it was about 8 foot tall. And the gentleman I have that was leader of Ops Team 1 was a gentleman by the name of Steve Kulls. He had an MOS as a sniper in the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. And he starts looking around. All of a sudden, he radios over. And the videographer was with him. And William B goes, "Thank you. Kind of mundane sighting. Could you embellish a bit? LOL." Wish I could. But anyway, they videotaped the scuff where it walked in. You could see the dirt falling in, which was kind of cool. And then at the same time they're doing that, you can hear the radio in the background of the campsite going, "Steve, we have some movement over to the south end of the camp." So they were hearing it walking around the campsite, which is where it was. And what I believe it was doing, as they always do, it's October 2011. The leaves have fallen. So it's actually got a pretty good shot of our campsite, and it was watching us, which is part of my action plan that I do is that you want to get, you're never going to get a Sasquatch on your own terms unless you use subterfuge. And one of those subterfuges I use is on the breaks. When people are all hanging about at the camp, one or two of us can sneak off very quietly. We may be able to snag one spying on us. And that's about it. Mick says, "Wait for it, William B. He's getting to the point where he chokes it out."
Oh no!
Yes, my name is Steve Mayhaw. I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez. I can't get that. I had a buddy we call Sasquatch who like to watch TMI. But yeah, that was my first encounter. I'll let you know about my second encounter too. It was a year later, and we were doing the it aired in Asia and Australia as Paranatural Sasquatch Planet. It aired in the United States as Monsters and Mysteries Unsolved Sasquatch Planet. It aired here on Destination America. Overseas, it aired, I believe, on NatGeo. But we're doing a shoot. We had come off the Chautauqua Lake Bigfoot Expo. Drove, the 6 hours from Chautauqua, the 5-6 hour drive with stops, and then another hour and a half, 2 hours up to, our campsite there. And it was, pardon the French, it was fucking miserable. It was raining nonstop. And turn around and the crew understood, and I said, "Well, we're just going to do a few interviews and we'll leave." So they did a few interviews, and they left. So we're all hanging about the fire, and we're getting ready to hit the hay. And Jeff Thomas, he's from Georgia. He was one of the expeditioners. He said, "Well, I'm going to go out to my Jeep and get my pillow and blanket, and I'm going to come back." And because he kept his pillow and blanket out of his tent just in case his tent had a leak, and then he's got a wet pillow and blanket. Luckily, he didn't have a leak in his tent. But anyway, he grabbed the stuff, he went back in his tent, and off to sleep he went. Later on, Wayne and I went to bed. Wayne Larson and Melissa Hovey Larson were there. Melissa went to bed earlier than she was the first one to bed, and then me and Wayne were last, and we both went in. And maybe a couple hours later, I wake up and I got to use a tree, so I get up, I unzip the tent, and I look to my left, and this is in the same area I had my experience a year earlier. And I see a 5.5 foot light brown. Now, mind you, it was raining, full moon, but the cloud cover kind of made everything kind of like a nightlight effect. And of course, the leaves have dropped, so I have pretty good clear vision right out to the road, through the trees. And I walk out of the tent, and I look to my left, and I see this, and I hear this thing running, and there it is, a 5.5 foot reddish brown Sasquatch tooling through the woods from perpendicular on the trail. And my first reaction, my first reaction was, nah, couldn't be. And I just went about my day. But the next time I had to use a tree, which is about 3-4 hours later, I damn well took a flashlight. But yeah, that was it. I mean, nothing spectacular. Until the next day when Jeff goes out to his truck and said, hey, something put a log behind my truck. And there was a birch log placed behind his Jeep where he would have actually been able to get into his Jeep to get his blanket and pillow. And it was a birch log. And the funny thing is that during the day, because it had been raining, we were collecting birch because birch will burn wet or not because of the oils inside the birch bark. And they go up like, like gasoline once they hit their ignition point. So he has that, which I thought was very interesting. Later that night, something pounded on a car. And it wasn't a branch, it wasn't a block, because there was no damage to the vehicle. And anything, I've had an acorn come down on my car and left a divot. So something had banged on the car again after we went to bed. So something was messing with us that night. And then the next day we found Melissa found and Wayne found a 9-inch print, 4.5 inches wide, which is a very wide, flat foot, only 9 inches long. Could that have been the juvenile track? It would make sense if, you have something that's 8 foot and has a, 14 to 17 inch track, in length. 9 inches for a 5.5 footer would be pretty large and appropriate. So, especially since like a lot of people, like we see dogs, they grow into their paws. Their paws are huge for their size. The bigger dogs. So again, it was pretty amazing find. And then Jeff on the final day was out into an area which I told him would be their territory. I always kept in the area just outside the territory. But Jeff went out and he came tooling back pretty fast, and something out there growled at him. And I've been out there. At that point, I've been out there 11 years, 12 years. Never. Well, that would have been my 13th year because 2000 was inclusive. I've never seen a bear out there, and I've never seen a coyote. Oh, I've heard him in the fun, but I just don't think he would have came a coyote and not have seen it or heard it, other than just hearing a. Now, here's an interesting point. Bears don't growl. Did you know that?
A bear doesn't growl?
A bear does not growl.
Well, they've got some throaty sounds they can make that would be, I would say, it would be similar to a growl.
Well, no. If you actually, I actually couldn't believe this. It was like, so I actually read it on a site about bears. Bears don't growl. Well,
I don't know, Steve. I mean, they may not use the same mechanism to growl as like a dog does, but I'm pretty sure they can make a throaty sound that sounds like a growl.
No, they can't. And this is not even from a Bigfoot site. This was actually from a bear site that even said that, yeah. And George says all bears do is sniff. They do, but they do a lot of that, and they don't roar. They have kind of like a very distinct, not even like a throat clearing type of thing, almost like.
Well, I really, in all honesty, I can't say I've been close enough to a bear that it would have growled at me. So the closest I got was, I don't know, probably 25 feet away, but it didn't make any noise. I was the one making the noise. Ooh.
So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I mean, and hello to Nani. She's late, but she's here. That's all that matters.
Nani, hey, welcome. We're glad to see you.
And Kevin, yeah, that's right. They grunt. They don't growl. They grunt. And Mary Roller says, I've heard on other channels, not just from yours, about bears not growling. So when you hear a growl, I mean, what's the likely suspect there? Maybe a coyote. It could very well have been a coyote. But, who knows? Who knows? Was it a Sasquatch? I don't know. But it was all these little coincidences that were occurring time after time. And we actually found where that log had come from. And it came from a mucky area. And none of us would have walked into that to grab it. What's the closest I've been to a Sasquatch? Well, I didn't necessarily see it. Another person in my party saw it. I was in T-Snow's Post, Arizona back in 2007. And the videographer we had with us, who was a skeptic, we were all sitting around the campfire. There's sitting around the campfire again, just shooting the bull. I was with J.C. Johnson and Leonard Dan. And God rest J.C.'s soul.
Yeah.
Yep. And even
J.C.
Yep. Jerry Hines, like bears do not growl. Nope, they do not. But hey, you know what? Black bears don't growl, but they do grovel. They do grovel. Hey, give me that food. I want a picnic basket.
Well, you know, I mean, they've definitely got a throaty sound that could be taken as a growl, you know. But
yeah, but the other thing is too is that and all the time, even now, I've never seen a bear up there, a black bear up there at all. And we don't have brown bear, or I should say, we don't have grizzlies
right
up our way, or all we have is the good old Ursus Americanus,
right,
which is just a big old, stupid dog, basically. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, you just go boo and they run. But so anyway, getting back to shoot, I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, we were.
I was talking about another. How close I've been to a Sasquatch. I was in T-Snow's Post, Arizona.
Yeah.
And the videographer, off in the distance, there was a street lamp, and it was up on a little bit of a hill. We were kind of in a valley a little bit. You could see a street lamp way off in the distance, and something had on the ground level had obstructed that view. So the cameraman goes, Steve, I think you better get your night vision gear, because I had night vision gear. So for whatever reason, I walked around the wrong side of the truck. I just kind of lost my bearings or whatever. And I walked around the far side of the truck, and then all of a sudden, about 15 feet behind me, I heard a rustle and something run off bipedally. And literally, it's the only time I ever drew a weapon. I did. I had my knife, and I drew my knife, and I turned around because I didn't know at first if it was coming after me or running away. Right. It was running away. And whatever it was, actually, it knocked a fence down on the far field, because that wasn't down the day before. So maybe 10, 15 feet. I think that's really the closest I've been to it. And not every Bigfoot stinks. That one certainly didn't. And you have to look at the terrain too. In T-Snow's Post, Arizona, there's a lot of scrub brush, a lot of dryness. There's also areas of water as well, especially if you get down to Lower Fruitland in that area, which is only about 5, 6, 7 miles as the crow flies. Plus you have the San Juan River. So you have water source, but I don't think they get as smelly in that particular area, because they don't have the swamps that like New York State. Like when I got the Fort Ann cast back in 2006, man, you could smell that thing, and it came on really quick. We could hear it walking around us.
Yeah.
And somebody heard a growl, and Brand heard a moan. Bill Brand was out at the vehicles, and he heard it by himself, no less. And so we, after smelling this thing, which was the skunky garbage death musk all rolled into one, quick as it came, it left. And as I walked out, that's when we found the trackway. And actually, we found the track the next day when it was daylight. Then we found the trackway.
Right.
And we could see where it was coming from, and right there it was, walked right by us, and it was unbelievable. These are things that, as a researcher, you see, that you just wish you could convey to the skeptics out there. I wish I had a skeptic with me. I go, look at this. You experienced that. You smelled that. You saw we came up with a track, and then we came back the next day, and look, there's a trackway. You know, it's that kind of stuff that I think back on. Not even so much the sightings. I mean, the sightings are one thing. People think, oh, Steve, you think you'd be more excited about the sightings. I'm not. I'm more excited about the evidence. Look at this. This is something tangible. This is something I can grasp. This is something I can photograph. I can measure. I can cast. I can do all that kind of fun stuff. A sighting may be fleeting unless I get it on camera. And I'll tell you what, I had this little action camera. It probably wouldn't have reached the distance that night I saw my first Sasquatch there standing by the pole. I didn't even think about that camera in my pocket. People, and I'm a researcher, and I'm a pretty experienced one at that point in time. I mean, mind you, it took me, 12, 13 years to see my first one with my naked eye. Not these Facebook demagogues that come out every other day. That day one, they're out there seeing all the Sasquatch. Then day 2, and day 3, and day 4.
Yeah.
The real thrill of it was seeing that trackway going, holy shit, that backs up everything that happened the night before. And measuring the stride, it took 3 foot. It took 3 steps, 6.5 feet, 3 steps, and 6.5 feet, going uphill at about a 30-degree grade.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, you're like, wow, just unreal. That's what turns me on as a researcher. That's what, because you know what, you can have a sighting all the time, and that's magnificent. It's a wonderful experience, and but when you got something that you can bring home with you, that's what really makes it. What really makes it exciting. And hello to Darcy. I see Darcy's in the. Have I ever sent evidence into a lab? No, I haven't. I actually, in all my years, I've recovered one hair sample. Very early in I think it was like 2001. And I put it under my own microscope, and I could see it was a red hair with a black tip, which meant fox. So I didn't have to send that one out. I'm pretty good at identifying ungulate hair. I'm pretty good at identifying the only hair that would normally give us a little trouble is maybe bear or yak hair, but we don't have any yaks, and like I said, we don't see too many bear. And ungulate hair is pretty easy to look at when you look at it really closely. You can see the color is different. The color is blondish or tannish.
It's hard to get a good sample, like for DNA, that you could verify that this definitely comes from a Sasquatch, unless you actually see it, deposit the sample. It's hard to send that off, to say, check this for Sasquatch DNA,
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you got to know the right people to send them to. It's a long road. You don't find many. I mean, there's people that find hair on fences, and like the whole psych study, every single hair turned out to be something.
Right.
Ungulate, sheep. Brenda Davis. A long time ago, we had Brenda Davis on the radio show, along with J.C. Johnson. And Brenda Davis had turned a sample into psychs, and that turned out to be sheep. The Smedjestake, bear. Derek Randall's turned in a couple of samples. They turned out to be ungulate. So it's disappointing to that effect that Peter Byrne turned. We've shown that turned hair into the FBI, and it was ungulate. And I just shook my head, thinking that, Peter Byrne is this big game hunter for many, many years, and he couldn't tell it was an ungulate hair. Don't you have your own microscope to look under it? Don't you have any? You got So to me, it sounded like it was just a big publicity stunt.
Right.
That's what it was. Darcy said I believe MK Davis. I don't know what your question is about MK Davis. So if you want to parse that, or better explain that one, I can. Yes, MK Davis does exist, but I don't know what the question is there, unfortunately. But and the other thing I always stress to people is reading about the topic, and I don't mean reading everything. I mean, go back, start at the beginning. One of my very first Sasquatch books was The Abominable Snowman by Eric Bauman, and that was a pseudonym for John Keel. I didn't know that until recently. I have here Bigfoot, written by Dr. John Napier. This was written in 1972. Excellent book. Yeah. Sasquatch by Don Hunter with Renee DeHinden. Excellent book. This is circa, I think, 1976.
It's not showing up real good on the green screen there.
Yeah, Steve. I know. I don't know what I can do about that. Of course, anything written by John Green. This is on the track of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
The Search for Bigfoot, Monster, Myth, or Man by Peter Byrne. Now you want to get into the more scientific area. Bigfoot Prints. Whoop, there we go. By Grover Krantz.
Yeah.
And that is a book with a lot of science stuff in there. Of course, one of my favorites I picked up in an old bookstore just a couple of years ago. Abominable Snowmen, Legend Come to Life by Ivan Sanderson.
Yeah.
1963. Now you want to talk about getting sightings from the 30s, 40s, 50s. That's the book.
Ivan T. Sanderson. He's the man.
And finally, you want a good recent book, obviously, Sasquatch Legend Meets Science by Dr. Meldrum. There's another one too that's very very hard out there to find is Dr. John Bindernagel's book.
Mm-hmm.
That's really tough to find. Well, anyway, got a question in the chat room. We talked about MK Davis. Yes, wondering your thoughts on the Patterson film with the supposed slaughter. I think it's bullshit. I can't make that any more clear. It's bullshit. You're going to tell me you see this little red thing on a film. You're going to come up with this whole conspiracy theory about it. Makes no sense. You're fitting your evidence to your theory, not the other way around. So, and I think MK Davis years ago was any pop-up books? Nope. I wish. Nope. Mm-mm.
Hey, I have been thinking about writing a book, and it would probably be a pop-up book. Either that or color by the numbers. I can't make up my mind, one or the other.
Hello, Chris. Good to see you, brother.
Hey, Chris.
So anyway, MK Davis. I hate to say this, but I'm putting him up there with the rest of the Hall of Shamers.
Well, I mean, you can't discount him for having his own theory, Steve. I mean, that's fine, you know.
Well, you know what? Okay, so you have this crazy cockamamie theory. Then he's trying to sell the Mike Sells videos as being real, the fence hopper. I was there. You know, he's sitting there showing this fence being chest high. Well, that's funny. I was there. And when I was there, the fence was only friggin' up to my belly, not to my chest. So something's not smelling right. I was at the same property.
Okay.
And MK damn well knows that those videos were all bullshit. And they've been proven, 20 years ago they're crap. Now he's trying to come out and say how they're real. That's Mike Sells in a ghillie suit. And I know Mike Sells. I've met the man. So I just get so aggravated to see more crap come out of this person lately, and it just, the guy's a gentleman, fine, doesn't say any bad things about people, fine, but I think 100%, he is propagating hoaxes left and right. He propagated his own cockamamie theory of a massacre, and he's propagating these hoaxed films by Mike Sells, which were proven hoaxes many years ago.
I don't like those films either. I'm with you on that. But now, as far as him having opinion about the shooting and all that stuff, that's perfectly fine. He sees a lot in that video. I don't see that.
But how can you? My thing is how can you? The Hall of Shame wasn't meant just for hoaxers; it's meant for junk science, and unfortunately, that's the realm MK Davis has moved himself into after the initial analysis is into junk science. This whole Patterson massacre theory, junk science. We haven't even proven the film is real yet. Right. So, and you're going to tell me there was a massacre? Come on. And everybody kept quiet about that? Come on. It just doesn't fly with me. Somebody just asked me if I ever read Meldrum's book, Legend Made Science. I just actually showed a copy of it. I have. I've owned that. I own the hardcover, which I got it like a day or two after it came out because Nani says he's related to Todd Standing. Now, Todd Standing is a hoaxer, but MK just is. I'm sorry, he's just.
Well, okay, we're gonna have to disagree a little bit because I think MK is a great guy and he does really good, or he used to do really good technical stuff on putting the films together. But okay, I'm not gonna kick him to the curb because he's got a theory that I think is a little out there. But now, one thing I don't like those videos. The Mike's Mike Sells video. I don't like those. I know about those. I know about those, and I don't think he should know about those too, and he shouldn't be promoting them.
Yeah, Mick says MK and Pallades accused of Gimlin and Green of that massacre, and based on what? Doctored evidence? No, you know what? Oh, no, I can't. Oh, there we go. No, he based on, just I don't know where any of that. I haven't seen one slight bit of evidence at all, other than him saying that this little puddle there was
it was red. Yeah,
it was red. Which actually, one of the things I do agree with Thinker Thunker on, he did point out that if you change the toning on the thing, it can look red, or if you adjust the colors, it's not red. So and Thinker Thunker's another one that's coming out. With a lot of these films that are crap saying they're real. Reminds me of the Facebook Find Bigfoot guys.
Well.
Yeah, let's take reality and throw it right away. But you know what? The one good thing, let me go back to positive. I've been seeing a lot of good stuff on Bigfoot groups lately. People asking the right questions, people saying the right things. Somebody posted a video and said, hey, and that wasn't theirs. They didn't even claim it was theirs. Hey, what do you guys think of this? And well, there you go, Nani. I don't like the NVTV YouTube channel. Clickbait. It's all clickbait. No, and you're right, Kevin. I don't think he's mean-spirited either. I think he's just. Sorry, I'm on another. There we go. Sorry, the buffering on this thing is horrible tonight. I'm not sure MK is a hoaxer. I just think he embellishes Bigfoot videos. Well, here's the point. Embellishes or enhances. Embellish is to make up. Embellish, it means to fake. He made an embellished account of what happened, which means fake. So either I don't think he's a hoaxer per se, but he is propagating a video that's hoaxed based on some, really, this is what we used to go after Facebook Find Bigfoot for. Now everybody's giving these folks a pass. And we shouldn't stand for like, MK, you need to go back and and just reset your mind a bit. You're going a little crazy on this stuff, in my opinion. You're looking into these things too much. You're trying to find it in just the evidence alone. Again, and I can't stress this. You cannot look at a video and determine its authenticity by just looking at a video. You can't say, hey, look at this video. It's real. Well, why is it real? Well, this and that. Well, hold on a second. What about the story behind it?
Yeah.
If you don't know the story behind it, you can't prove it's real, period. End of story.
Yeah.
And that is an issue. That is a real big issue. People are forgetting that, they see this film and people have gotten so two-dimensional, they forget the third dimension, and that's the story behind the film.
Yeah.
Luckily, as I'm saying, I'm starting to see these questions being asked in Bigfoot groups now. Somebody had posted this video. I forget from where. And not as their own, but saying, hey, what do you guys think of this? And the guy said, well, I hate the fact, number one, there's no time and date stamp. So we don't know when this was, where this was, why there was 9 people in the woods, what made them think that the growling was actually a Bigfoot and not something else.
Right. Yeah. Oh, man. Bob, I've never seen the red puddle either, or the wound on the leg. I think.
Okay. So Kevin says to embellish means to make more attractive, but it actually means by adding more detail. Hang on. I'm going to show you. Make something more attractive by the addition of decorative details or features. Well, I don't know. When you're adding decorative details, to me, that's hoaxing.
Women do it all the time. I mean.
I think, embellish is not, science does not embellish. Truth does not embellish. Truth gives it to you straight. And I don't see where he embellishes anything. I see where he's just plain wrong, unfortunately.
Well, I like the work that MK has done in the past, cleaning up videos and clearing up pictures. I really do.
But you know what, Chris? Anybody can do that nowadays.
Yeah, well, at that time, though, not everybody was able to do that. Now, MK was a pioneer as far as applying that to the Bigfoot stuff. Now, okay, of course, we have Bill Munns, too, all right. But now I'm talking about the MK was lining up those the Patty film frame by frame, so we could see her walking and how smooth she walked, rather than the jumping up and down, in and out of frame. And I really, I think he did an awesome job on that. Yep. I can't see his theory. I disagree with the theory about the Bigfoot massacre, of course, and I don't like the videos that he promoted by the other guy. But I'm not going to hold that against him.
I don't know, and I have to. I hold people to a higher standard than that. If you're gonna sit there and promote films that are a known hoax, that were proven a hoax, back in 2002, 2003. Well, and now you're trying to say, oh, look how real these are. No, less. You sound just like no.
Listen, does he know that it's a hoax? Does he know the videos are hoaxed?
He's refusing to listen to reason.
Okay, well.
It's just like we get on people. Oh, you know what? This guy's going to go hang out with Rick Dyer. This guy's going to hang out with Todd Standing.
Yeah.
Look at the criticism Meldrum took because he went with Todd Standing and Todd Standing's reputation. Well, because of what MK did in the past, he should get a pass on being totally ignorant over these films.
No.
Well, that's my point. And even Nick says it wasn't an honest mistake. He knows the background of these films. He knows that there has been accusations of hoaxes, but yet he deflects and doesn't talk about the negative aspects. He only says, you know, he's not talking unbiased. He's on a biased function there. Right? Yeah,
I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, it's like, okay, today we're going to talk about this film. And we're going to not talk about the critics of what the critics say about the film. We're only going to talk about what we want to believe about the film. And I think he has fallen into that category of I want to believe, I want to believe, I want to believe.
Or he's fallen into that category of I need more hits on my YouTube channel.
That as well. That as well. You know, it sleep with dogs, get fleas.
Yeah, I wish he would, move on to other videos. Leave those alone.
I agree. I agree. And if anything, I think that, all right, he shouldn't get a pass on promoting. He should be like, hey, listen, dude, you're only showing one side of these videos, and there's a big, and I know he knows that they've been proven a hoax by the Texas Bigfoot Research Organization way back when. And, you could talk to Craig Woolheater about those, Daryl Collier about those films. They know the real Rudy Tooty about those films.
Right.
I was down there.
I remember. Yeah.
I was down there, and I had seen the films.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And guess who was trying to taunt one of them? Biscardi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, you can ask for, even though they're not necessarily sterling reputation sometimes, but even the Timberline Bigfoot group down there, they know those films are faked. So if you know something is BS or suspect, why risk your reputation? Suzanne Ferencek asks.
That's true. Yeah.
Because it's for him. I think there is. See, the problem is within that group, and there was about 4 or 5 of them that were doing those videos from what I can recall. And you want to get down to the nitty gritty of it. One of them really believed what was going on. He was part of the group. And this was the guy that was really putting those videos out there to people, I think. And I think MK met this guy who really believed. And I'm going to tell you how this went. So, it's 2006, Fort Worth, Texas. And this guy has these videos. So we go out to see these videos. And I'm looking at him, not impressed. Not impressed at all. You can tell it was a setup. They have a hunter walk by and the Bigfoot's hiding underneath, but the trail camera's capturing it all. This is part of the same series of videos, folks. So understand that these are the videos you're not seeing. So here's this Bigfoot high. You see the Bigfoot running around, going underneath this thing, and you see a hunter walk over him with a gun, walking very stiff, very rigid, not like really a hunter would walk. And then as the hunter walks off, the Bigfoot gets up and runs away. That's part of the same video series, but that's not what really, really got to me. So a lot of people forget what Mike Sells was about. You see, this guy comes out with this plastic baggie, and he pulls out of the baggie this piece of paper. And he turned around. He said, and I look at the piece of paper, and it looks like a second grader had written like stick figures on it. He goes, look at this. And he's like sweating. I'm like, what is it? Bigfoot wrote that. Bigfoot wrote that. Okay. See, the thing is people forget Mike Sell's wife hooked up with a woman called the Dolphin Lady. And they were talking with Bigfoot. They were having conversations with Bigfoot. And Bigfoot was leaving cartoon characters on stick figures on pieces of paper. You would leave the crayon on paper out there. This is the story behind the films. Okay. Does it sound like that film's bullshit or real now? That's my point. That's my point. That's the story behind the story. Is that there was a whole aspect of, well, they have this conversation with Bigfoot, and then let's not forget the Bigfoot knocking Mike Sells over. And the funny thing is when you listen to the video, the audio of it, it almost sounds like the audio is coming from him, not from far away. The sound is coming close to the camera, and you hear this, and he gets knocked over. And he acts like he falls over. Well, wait a minute. That growl sounded like it was coming from the photographer, not from out in the woods where it supposedly came from. Again, the story behind the videos.
That was some good showmanship there, though. You got to admit.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly. Oh, or the time Mike Sells takes us out to an area of Pat Mays Lake, and here's all these tracks, and they don't look real to me. And the tracks stop up the water. But here's the thing. You have these two Bigfoot tracks right next to each other like this. Okay, you're 500 pounds, 8 foot tall. Are your feet really going to stand there with your feet together? No, they're going to be apart.
You're going to fall over.
Right, they're going to be apart. So so here's Mike showing us these prints. He took us to these prints. Obviously, he's the one who put them there. Because that last track I saw was definitely nothing real. So, come on.
Yeah.
But that's the story behind the film. And I know MK has had to have met that guy from Fort Worth, has to know about all those little Bigfoot sketches that allegedly Bigfoot made while Mike's wife was leaving cartoons back for the Sasquatch to communicate with.
I just hope that he hasn't. I hope that he doesn't know. I really
he does. He does. He was on the property. He had to have talked to Mike Sells' wife. I'm just saying. It just, I just, now, here's the thing.
Okay.
Hang on. So Kevin said no one is an expert. Well, I'm an expert on bullshit. That's the thing. There are no experts on Bigfoot, but there are experts on bullshit. And when I see somebody getting caught faking tracks, coming up with these stories of Bigfoot leaving notes, I don't have to be an expert to realize that's bullshit, and nobody should. And that is, and Kevin, please don't take offense to this, but that's the easy way out. That's the easy. Oh, well, no one's an expert, and walk away from the conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
to me,
is
stuff like
and that would be the type of argument you would get from MK.
Stuff like
no one's an expert. Yeah, well,
videos and the little stick structure drawings and stuff. That's lunacy.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
If MK cares anything about his reputation, needs to stay away from that stuff.
When somebody acts in a particular way, you don't have to be. Nobody says you have to be an expert. Be an investigator.
Yeah.
Say, and maybe y'all didn't know this about the background of those films, but now you know. Now you know. Now you know.
Look at OT's comment.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Now we need to start seeding the woods with iPhones.
Yeah.
And solar chargers.
The whole thing is that I'm very good at looking at a story, and that's my job. Hey, guess what? What is an expert? What is an expert? You say, Kevin, no one's an expert, but expert is from a point of view. Expert is a reference. For example, my plumbing breaks down. I need to replace my toilet. I'm going to call an expert, a plumber. So that plumber's an expert, but when he's with a convention of other plumbers, is he an expert? No. I've had experiences with Bigfoot. I've researched for 20 years. If I go to a group of people that have never done that before, am I the expert? Yes. Expert is a temporary term. Is the guy who's the expert on warfare. There's the general. Another general walks in the room. Is he an expert to that general? No. It's a frame of reference. People get hung up and see that's the easy way out of arguments for a lot of people. Well, nobody's an expert. Sorry, if I may not be a urologist, but if somebody's pissing on my leg, I damn well know they're pissing on my leg. Right?
It's not raining.
Not raining. That's my point for the night. So you don't have to be an expert to know what's bullshit and what's not.
Oh, Steve.
It is time to go.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Oh my goodness.
Time has flown. All right, folks. I want to wish everybody a great week here. Everybody stay healthy. Get through another week of this crap. We'll get through. Okay. I want to wish everybody a great week. God bless. Most of all, keep on squatching. Happy Easter, folks. Catch you all next week here on April 19th, 9 p.m. Eastern. Squatch-D TV, 9 p.m. Catch you all next week.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, the whole mind, this isn't a man.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it, that was in midair going across the road in front of me.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail. And the whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right outside of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
There are 1,000 perfect people whose word would be good on any other subject who describe getting a good look at an enormous hair-covered upright animal. And that is a fact.